Hey guys. Okay, so this subject came up for one of my clients, and I won't go into the details, but I get a lot of questions that are very similar to this. I think I have crumbs on my face. I just had breakfast. Anyway, so she was leaving her boyfriend's house, and he always does this one thing, and he didn't do it, and she asked him to do it, and he got annoyed, and it's like now it's become a whole big thing. It's not really a whole big thing. It's all gonna blow over. It's not a big deal at all. But the point is like, why does something like this happen? So let's say that every morning you get up and you make your kid breakfast. Sometimes it's cereal, sometimes it's waffles, whatever. But maybe they have this one breakfast that you make them on the weekends or you make them on occasion, and it's a little bit more complicated. Like my grandmother used to make us biscuits. I don't even know how complicated it is, because to me that's from scratch, because you gotta mix stuff. But she used to call it caca. But she said that she made it for us because she knew we liked it. But to her, that was crap. Anyway, so my grandmother would make this, and to us that was like that's what we loved. So let's just say that you made these biscuits for your kid on their birthday or on Christmas or whatever, and you do it from time to time frequently, and one morning they wake you up and they're like, can you make me those biscuits? And you just don't feel like it. You're in a bad mood. You're irritated. You just don't feel like getting out the mixer. You just want to be like, can't you just eat cereal out of the box? Like, that's just how you feel it in the moment. Now, I know that I've been told by my mother many times no, and that was the answer, and I didn't question it, and that was it. We went on with the day. But for some reason, when it comes to a certain person, the relationship that we have with a lover, a boyfriend, a husband, whatever, it's like the situation, it's like all of a sudden everything's a big deal. So if your kid has woken you up and asked you for something that you just did not feel like doing, it doesn't mean that you don't love them. It doesn't mean that you don't want to be with them. It doesn't mean anything other than in the fucking moment, you're annoyed. And it's happened to the best of us. It's like this. If every time, like my grandfather, my dog Brandy loved my grandfather, loved him. I could walk Brandy, and as soon as my grandfather came over, she had to go out with him. It didn't make a difference. She just loved him. I could wait outside with Brandy, and him and I could both walk Brandy, but when we went back inside, my grandfather had to take Brandy out alone. That was just what she wanted, and she would not stop annoying him until she got what she wanted. That was Brandy. She just loved him. Now, I'm pretty sure that Brandy lived so long because my grandfather was up in heaven like, don't send that dog here, because as soon as she gets here, I'm gonna have to walk her. That's how much. Brandy hated the bath. The only person that could give her a bath was my grandfather. She just adored him. So, but the point is that my grandfather did it every time. My grandfather loved the dog, but there were some times where he would get annoyed. He'd be like, hey, what am I, the dog walker? He would do it anyway, but he would get annoyed. And it didn't mean he didn't love the dog. It didn't mean he didn't want to do it. It's just that sometimes you don't want to keep getting up and taking the freaking dog out. And it doesn't mean anything more than that. And the unfortunate part about things is that we make things equal something when it has to do with matters of the heart. So for example, if in the situation that happened this morning, if this girl had been at anybody else's house, she wouldn't have expected this. She wouldn't have asked for it. It was just a stupid little thing, and she knows that it was something that was not a big deal. But it was like, he's not doing this, he always does, so why? Meanwhile, if it was anybody else, it wouldn't have been a big deal. And that's the way we are as humans. And I think that the female brain just works differently than the male brain. And I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that women are constantly like like this plus this equals that. Where a man is like, man's like, oh, this is coffee. I'll drink coffee now. Or a woman will be like, well, he gave me coffee and it doesn't have milk in it, and doesn't he know I like milk? Well, that must mean that he doesn't care about me because he doesn't know that I don't like milk. Why is there milk in this? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, when meanwhile, like, the one thing doesn't have to equal the other. It's like the text message, right? I text messaged my friend Amy one day and my friend Joe, both on the same day. Neither one answered me back. I didn't even think about it. I didn't remember that I texted them until they both answered me 2 days later. And they're not two people that were in the same place or that were together. They don't even know each other. It's just, neither one of them got back to me, and I didn't think twice about it because they're my friends. Now, when it comes to somebody that we want to hear from, all of a sudden we have this, well, what if he doesn't take me back? And we're looking at the phone, and he's going to call me back, and they just want to talk to me, and he must hate me, and maybe he's out with this one, and maybe he likes that one better. All of those crazy insecurities are going out into the universe, and fear, insecurity, all that kind of stuff manifests very quickly. So where I have issues with some of the law of attraction teachings, some of it I really think makes sense. And the reason why I started studying law of attraction was not because of like a specific area of my life. It was because of my whole life. It was like, it wasn't because I was rejected by one person. It was because I felt like I had a series of events throughout my life with all types of people, in all types of relationships and all types of situations that made me think that I wasn't good enough. It wasn't one area. So like for example, I mention this all the time. When we were in school, I was never picked to be on anybody's sports team. Nobody wanted me on the team because I was small, I wasn't good, I had very little interest in sports, I didn't really want to play. Nobody wanted me on their team because I wasn't going to win the game for them. It wasn't really a personal thing, but to me it was very personal. It wasn't that I was chosen last, it was that somebody else got stuck with me. That was the feeling, like somebody was stuck with me. And that feeling from that experience had, like, it manifested itself in so many different ways over my life. Not in one area, but in many areas. Like feeling like at work I wasn't taken seriously. Feeling like at work other people were respected more than me. I was always coming in less than everybody. And it starts off from when you're very little and we make things equal something else. And it's just not true. For example, if every morning somebody picks you up a cup of coffee and then one morning they don't, and you turn around and ask them, hey, where's my coffee? That person's gonna get annoyed. Like, they're gonna get annoyed because it's like, every fucking morning I bring you coffee. Today I don't because I'm running late, and now you're annoyed and you have the nerve to ask me for it, right? But if you know what I mean? But if you don't say anything, and then maybe the next day you bring in the coffee, it changes the dynamic of the situation. And you have to think about it. I always think with certain situations, how would I act if this was just my friend? How would I act if this was my brother, my coworker, my next door neighbor? Would I feel the same way? And usually the answer is no. You don't really send your brother a text message and stress over whether or not he's going to answer you. You just don't. Or your father, or your mother, or your coworker, or your boss. You know what I mean? So it's like when these situations come up, you have to look at the situation like if it were anybody else, would it be a big deal? And then I think that can save a lot of trouble and resentment and issues that we have in our day-to-day lives, because it's really not a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not a big deal. Like, if every morning you get up and take the garbage out, right? And then one morning you don't, and somebody's like, hey, you didn't take out the garbage. Then you're gonna be like, I fucking take the garbage out every day. Can't you do it one day? Right? Am I right? Like, imagine if every day you folded the laundry and one day you just didn't fold the laundry and somebody was like, Amy, hold on. You would be like, you fucking fold it yourself, right? Because it's like, Now you're expecting me to do something that I was doing out of the goodness of my heart, and now you're making it a chore for me. Now every time I see you, you're going to expect this, and now it's something that I have to do. Nobody wants to have to do anything. So it's just something to keep in mind. When these little situations come up, and they come up all the time, I read for a lot of people that have like these, it's in the scheme of things, it's something that is so small, but yet it could bother somebody so much. And your feelings are valid. You know, it's not that you shouldn't feel that way. But if you looked at things from a different perspective, you might not feel the way that you do. You know, like when, if your daughter asks you to French braid her hair and you have like 3 minutes to get her to the bus stop, right? You're gonna be annoyed. No, get out of here. You gotta catch the bus. Doesn't mean you don't love her. It doesn't mean you don't want to French braid her hair. It just means that today isn't the day that you're getting your hair French braided, so get out of here before you miss the bus. And then I gotta drive you to school, and I don't want to do that. But that being annoyed in that moment doesn't mean anything in the scheme of things, is what I'm trying to get at. In the scheme of things, being annoyed in that moment really is not that big of a deal. It's just we're humans, and this is how we act sometimes. Now, the same situation can arise on another day, and we could and not have this at all. You know, like one morning you could wake up and be like, oh, we got plenty of time to do your hair. What do you want me to do with it? Right? But some days it's like, no, you got to get out of here. Goodbye. It's just in that moment. And it reminds me of how I used to talk about my job, my day job, how I could make a mistake on Monday and go to my boss and be like, look, I made this mistake. Can you sign off so I can fix it? And then it's not a big deal. Oh yeah, sure, no big deal. And then I can make that same mistake the following Monday, and it could be like a meeting, a lecture, how are we going to avoid this? And meanwhile, it's like, it's really not that big of a deal. But sometimes it's the way you hit that person and the place they're reacting from. So if my boss on the Monday that he just signs off on it is acting more from a place of love, okay, you made a mistake, fix it. Where on the second Monday, it's acting from an ego place. It's, well, I'm the boss and I need to know how this happened and I'm in control here and how could we avoid this? That's ego. So at the end of the day, the mistake needs to be fixed. Which way do you want to handle it? Do you want to come from an ego place that's just going to piss everyone off? Or do you want to come from a loving place and just fix it? Nobody wants to make a mistake. Nobody wants to be careless. Nobody wants to do work twice. It's a mistake. You're not going to avoid every mistake because we're human, and that's it. We make mistakes, like it or not. This is how we are. All right, let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys. I'm going to go live now. All right, bye-bye.